sitting quietly in the northern latitudes. Greenland is a unique Inuit nation of awe-inspiring beauty. The world's largest island, with a population of only 56,000 people. An autonomous territory of Denmark. It is European, and yet culturally and socially worlds apart. With 80% of its surface covered by a vast ice sheet. Greenland is known, and yet mostly unknowable. Its towns and villages scattered along its vast, rugged coastline, its inhabitants experiencing rapid change to both culture and climate. Uncertain times lay ahead. In the summer of 2019, we set sail from Galway in the west of Ireland to Greenland under the leadership of our captain, Jamie Young. Inspired by their unique way of life and their relationship with the natural world, we made the voyage to learn what it means to be Greenlandic today.
We've got gale 46, yeah, that's a gale, all right. It's quite a big band as well.
This is a story told by the people that we met on that quest.
You see a lot of men who sit and carve in a piece of bone or in from a reindeer, what's it called? Antler. And you see a lot of people who find things in nature and make something beautiful with it. Maybe it's because we are so close to nature, so you take what you find and make something of it. I'm a 46-year-old Greenlandic woman. I was born in Maniitsoq. It's a bit further north, but I also grew up in Denmark and in the south of Greenland. This piece, this is a kind of ulu, the woman's knife, it's called. And we have various types throughout the coast. So in East Greenland they have a different shape, and on the west coast it's a different shape. And it is it's a very well-known cultural piece for Greenland. We use it to put the fat of the sealskin. Yeah, it's a very important tool for the hunters and the hunters' wives.
They catch three kinds of whales. My brothers are both fishermen and hunters. My father was a painter, and my grandpa, he was a hunter and fisherman. Oh, I have my own ulu at the fishing place Sesengui, and this is my mother's. She died at the 2013, and this one is her mother's. And they are very important to me because they have something to tell.
Hunting and whaling have always been important in Greenland. Historically, it was very much necessary to survive. Communities worked together to catch and prepare the animals caught, nearly all parts of the animal having a use. The Greenlandic sea kayak, the kajak, is perhaps the best symbol of this Arctic hunting culture that lives on today.
Redwood, and the point part is also from a fin whale, but the connector in between is made from reindeer antler, as long as also the wood piece, bone pieces here, and the back end is also reindeer antler. The easiest will be cod and fjord cod fishing from the kayak. Super easy. We have heard from stories how they hunt, and it will be like getting a badge. I have caught a seal from a kayak. One of the hunters here have a couple of times caught a seal from his kayak with only harpoon. Almost 2 decades ago. Now he uses his powerboat. Once you have been shown some convenient things, you would move to whatever is more convenient. So powerboat would be my main vessel for hunting.
I used to live in the Netherlands, where I lived for 14 years. And at a certain point, I realized that I was longing really deeply to go home. And I also wanted my 3 children to be able to grow up and feel what it's like to be a child in Greenland. So, well, I was in the middle of a divorce and wanted to start all over. So I also started up a new study that I was able to do here in Greenland. That made me able to go home with my kids and start up a new life again here in Greenland. To me, this symbolizes my 3 children, and that's me as a single mom. And I have the other ones. I got this one is the same as my mother.
Kisia pronimi ataqarpunga manitsumi inungorpunga inuit kultuuritsinni arna angutillu kakiorneqartarput tamarmik isumaqarput pingortitamu attuumassutеқарлутик таавалу оқалуттуа тоққагут соорлу укутитарнерит isumaqartinneqarput sassuma arnaa piniagassaalатсисоо qaleraangat taava sassuma arnaa naaniittarpu piniagassat piniagassaajunnаарlutik hanni nunatsinnu utermat aama soorunami ernuttat imatut misiginartarami nunatsinnu utissasut ingammik meeraatilluti ernuttakka eqqarsaatigaluit nunattakusanassusia nuannissusia inuuffigissagunikku pitsaanerpaassasutaakkununga Uagu kulsuorput ua eqqarsartarpunga uagu kulsuorput imaappoq kulsuorarpu kalaallisut pingortita ataqqillugu pingortita tunniusinnaasaa ataqqillugit pingortita malinnaavigalugu nipangersimasinnaaneq oqaaserpassuа tunngikkaluarluit naalaarsinnaani nipaanne uagutsinnu aama pingaaruteqartoruyoruussugami nipaanneq.
As long as I can remember, we were out every summer. And when I got children, I took all my children. Every summer we went to the fishing place. So they are grown up. They are used to fish in that way, and they know the sailway from Sisimiut to Sisimiut. Their grandfather has taught them the route.
Bjarne Lippert. I'm a biologist. I've been working for the Association of Fishers and Hunters in Greenland since 2014. My job is to coordinate the councils on hunting and the council on green habitats. So in total we have around 2,000 members, individual members, in practically every settlement in Greenland. 90% of the total export value from Greenland is from seafood products. So fishing is practically everything.
Living on a solid diet of fish during our stay, fishermen are seen dotted all over the coast in small fiberglass boats. The seas are rich with all sorts of species, especially valuable halibut and shrimp. The number of larger trawlers are growing also, allowed to fish outside the 3-mile limit off the coast. The industry is so important to Greenland that in 1985 they left the EU and all its benefits to protect their valuable fishing rights. After World War II, building on US wartime infrastructure on the island, the Danish government brought in trading companies and trawlers as a way to grow the country's economy. With growing exports from Greenland, there has also been a growing dependence on imported foods and goods. As the economy has grown, it has increased prosperity and the standard of living, but this reliance on imports has meant a rapid decline in the traditional Inuit hunting economy.
I try to catch my own food, my dinner at least. So usually I stock up seal, reindeer, muskox, whale until winter. So I don't have to buy meat from the groceries.
I find it also important with the animals that you use everything of the animal. I find that a great gift to be able to say, hey, I use the skin of the seal, I eat the seal meat, I even use things from the inside. So you use everything. I find that very a rich thing that we have here in our culture. And now in this throwaway culture, we should look back at our history and learning from our ancestors to use everything again. We are still good at it, luckily, here in Greenland.
I personally keep the entire meat, the liver, the colon, and the heart. And if my mom asks for the lungs, I will take them with me as well, and the stomach.
They're typically out for 3-4 days before they got their cargo hold filled up with shrimp.
My name is Sebastian. I was born down in the late 93, so I'm 25 years old, going 26 in December. I live in Denmark to become a marine engineer. As of right now, I'm on vacation back at home in Greenland, where I'm from. I was born in Asia, raised partly in Gangatjak, a small settlement south of Asia, and from 2000 I was raised here in Nuuk. So you could say that I'm a big city boy in Greenlandic standards. My father gave me the opportunity to work with him. So I chose to become a marine engineer, to have a chance of sailing up here on the bigger ships, at least.
If you look back in time, the family was necessary to survive. You needed the family, you needed the hunter, you needed the woman to make the clothing. The family was really necessary.
Атасоруйуссуусарпугут илакутарииссусеқ аннерториоруссуарми исумақарпугагутсин тааккуусарпугу илакутариит иммитсинну татсигисиннаасут аттавеққақатигиллута таперсерсоқатигиллута.
I was working at the municipality as a counselor for small entrepreneurs. But then I started to have problems waking up in the morning all of a sudden. My son lives here, my mom lives here, and I know my way around in the nature.
Big part of my pastime as of right now is playing video games with friends and my big brothers. Maybe a bit more than I should, but back when I was younger, we had a satellite connection to the internet, and it was the slowest possible internet connection there is. So we tend to play outside in the mountain and stuff, playing with friends, and then the sea cable came. We got a lot faster internet than we had back then. And people are starting to see how the world really is through the internet. They get outside news from, for example, the USA or China.
My son, for instance, he is hooked on Japanese anime. right now. So he stays in his room, Netflix, eat, sleep, Netflix. That's what he do right now. When I call him and ask him if he wants to join me hunting, no.
You can feel that the culture up here is changing. It's not as traditional as it used to be, where young people listen to their old folks and try to live on with the parents' impressions, for example. The young ones are starting to get their own opinions on stuff, for example, homosexuality. It was a big taboo a few years ago where people couldn't live with it because all we know that about homosexuality is sexual transmitted diseases and nothing more. But as time went on and the internet became more and more popular in Greenland, people start to realize that homosexuality isn't as bad as it sounded like. So more and more people are starting to open up about their sexuality here in Greenland, for example. A lot more than they would back then, at least.
Nasakami pinnersarertillutit tiktakkertarpit. Pinnersarita tiktakkertarpungaama. Sissaaleqingaangama. Suli tiktakkiingerlavaq ta ama aqqanguungikkuniunnungu namminiuvaasiungeqqumattulissuunga. I will do this for you guys, so you will have to put your paper and pen to ready. I will tell you how to put makeup that it doesn't have to be that much to look beautiful. I'm sorry to say how to wear makeup for the first time for first starters. If you are beautiful, it's mostly likely to be inside and not the outside. Sitting on the bed because I was graduating from the high school where I've been studied for 3 years. In our culture, all our traditional clothes have different meanings. I am a young woman that can actually be ready to get married. I have put all different colors from bright to dark, where when I move this one away, it will show different, where it will actually look like a younger age side. If I have put really darker than this one, dark blue, it would show representing an old lady. That's how I made it, so I could have it for more likely rest of my life. I don't have to start over to make my own again, because it takes a really long time and basically you have to use a lot of money to make this.
Angumerosimna sanginnatsimaataakkingorna. I år student 85 i år.
Taking students from 16 years and upwards, Asiat High School embraces a wide range of ages. As formal education now plays a much larger role, more and more students are hoping to go on to further education in Nuuk, Denmark and further afield.
Det er en elev, der har lagt et kæmpe kæmpestort arbejde her på skolen. Både sin fritid og som arbejde, og så har hun også lavet masser af frivillig arbejde.
Og så har hun også et stort engagement i alle sine omgivelser, i alle folk. Hun kender alle, uden undtagelse. Og hun er altid klar til at bruge sin kreativitet, både i og uden for skolen.
Så årets specialpris går til Anja Terkelsen.
Families come from far and wide to celebrate with their children. The school takes students all the way from Assiut to the northernmost villages, a catchment area greater than the size of France.
See the ice straight ahead, small pieces that are
Often sailing through the day and night, the 24-hour daylight was very much appreciated. Allowing us to see the icebergs, it meant that we didn't rely solely on radar to spot hazards during the night.
Government are working on diversifying our economy by developing tourism along with the mineral extraction in Greenland. My name is Vitus Qoyaukitok. I am the leader of Nunettaqeton, the newest party in the parliament, and I've been part of the Greenland cabinet for this is my sixth year in office. We are a country that is developing to become independent. I see here our present state as a capacity building toward becoming an independent nation at some point.
Right now I get free education down in Denmark because of one of the few benefits we have as Greenlandic people.
Trissikut qoqqatamissaani taamanikku trissikku qoqqatamissaani qallunaarpassuitikerarput taavalu sulisartut illorsuimakkusananneqarput taamanikkut pissutsit аллангоруусуарнерисана лаанни уагу инуусуттуараагугут.
They began at 52 to send pupils or children to Denmark, and I think it was the same experiment to get us to learn Danish. I don't think our parents had anything to say. They just told them that we were one of the best in the class and we were going to Denmark. I felt that I had lost my identity because I want really to be a Danish girl because something were much easier and maybe something was printed in me.
My mom is a Danish-talking woman, so I was raised talking Danish. I started to forget most Greenlandic words, how to keep a conversation going in Greenlandic, for example. It's a hard thing to do right now because I've forgotten so much of the language. But I'm trying to learn as much as possible. and it doesn't help that I live in Denmark. But I'm trying to learn the Greenlandic language again.
Sut taamanikkut allangorni annertuu piartulerpoq malunnartoruussuarmik soorlu allaa uagu oqaatsitta ilinniarnissaat tunulliunneqarlune qallunaatu ilinniartineqarpugu 3. klassumingaanniit kisianni uagu nunarpu pillugu ilinniagassagut sammineqarni aajorput ilinniakkuagu tamarmik qallunaannunaannut tungassutеқарпут.
When you have to study, most of the studies you are not able to do in Greenland, so you have to go to Denmark or other places. So we grow up with the knowledge of knowing, okay, we are going to study in Denmark. It's a nice opportunity to see the world or to see Europe or to go somewhere else, but it also is connected with a sort of longing for your family as well.
We have experienced a migration for the past 15 years. And the migration has meant that the smaller communities get less population through the years. The people with families and children are leaving our society to another nation or country. It's a threat for our future. It's due to the poor housing conditions, it's lack of jobs, it's the primary school and the daycare centers with poor standards, and not least the high living costs that are forcing people to migrate to Denmark. It's difficult to sustain a healthy population when people are migrating from their community to larger places like Nuuk and to 4 other larger cities, and from Greenland to Denmark. There is an urgency in constructing new apartments across the entire country. So we are working on improving the housing standards across whole Greenland.
I have heard, and I do know, that the waiting lists are very long, up to 15 years. You can get apartments that are more expensive, but they are very expensive. So for me, single mom, I can't afford it.
Independence is a quest for freedom. That is the main purpose for our strive to become independent.
Greenland is critically dependent on subsidies from Denmark. If independence was achieved today, it would be left among the poorest countries in Europe. Thus, growing the economy will be essential in order to achieve self-reliance.
Well, my best friend, he does want independence from Denmark to get a more open Greenland, more produce from around the world. And I'm against it because we got some benefits from Denmark that we won't get from, for example, USA or China.
I can't even imagine what it will be like. I even now have decided that one child will be staying in the Netherlands for a while because she couldn't get the needed care that we thought that she needed in the health department. So we decided to temporarily move her to the Netherlands so she can get the necessary needs there.
The political sense is based on the desire to become economic independent, which means a self-reliant society that is not depending on the grants from Denmark.
With its vast mineral resources becoming more accessible as the ice sheet melts, mining is seen by many to hold the greatest potential for achieving financial independence. Estimated to have 50% of the world's uranium, the international mining community is knocking on its door.
This moment, there's a gold mine, there is a ruby extraction, there is exploitation license to iron mine, zinc glit, anotosite, just to mention the most advanced projects.
I understand they're interested in getting a better economy. So I find this a difficult question. It's the same with the Huron in the mountains of South Greenland. Personally, I am against it because I am again afraid of what it will do to our nature and bringing up all these toxics that it is. But again, it is economy and Greenland's hope for the future. So it is difficult questions. Yeah.
The textures of the ice were mesmerizing. You can see the effects of the fresh meltwater mixing with the salt water, a phenomenon known as halocline. It creates a strange warping effect in the water. In April 2021, Greenland's left-wing environmentalist party was elected on the pledge to mitigate climate change. Since then, Greenland has suspended offshore oil exploration, citing the dangers of global warming, but it remains open to mining minerals used to manufacture batteries and other components of electric vehicles. 2019 was reported as the hottest year on record for Greenland. Arctic temperatures are now rising at twice the rate of the global average. In July of 2021, enough ice melted in a single day to cover Ireland in 2 inches of water, the ice sheet losing 8.5 billion tons of surface mass. For a people with a culture so strongly connected to the ice, climate change to this extent must represent such a huge threat.
See, there's a huge bowl carved out, and it was not like that last year. It's very active. I think it's almost hung up now, actually.
I was a child and very young. We could see glaciers here. They are disappeared now. So it's still becoming warmer and warmer. And 30 years ago, when we go up to the river to look after the traps, we take more clothes on because it was so cold and the water in the river were very cold. But in these years, it's warm. Warm weather and warm water in the river.
Whether you like the changes or not, they have been happening the last 20 years.
Nuna, manna, nayorosupara. Ukiutrayo missani assiliisarpunga kisiani aama uani pingortitap kusan pingortitam pingartittisoruussuu kalaalli aama uanga pingortitam pingartittinerup takutinnissaa uani oqariartuu immaa pingaarnerpaa unaawoq.
Our hunting society are under threat with the climate change. We see depreciation of the ice is forcing the polar bear into land.
Sea ice has diminished. The sea ice season and it's anywhere from 3 months less of sea ice to no sea ice at all. But in general, the use of sea ice as a mean of transportation is now in the history books in some places. From place to place it's very different. In South Greenland there has been changes in sea currents, changes in the weather patterns, changes in sea ice extent, changes in abundance of all kinds of fish species.
Silana allangoriartornerata kingunerisaani kulsuorput navianertorsiorpoq uani kulsuoritoqqat ullumikku atuuttut avannaarsuani neriuppungassiunissami aama ukkua ukiuni amerlasuuni takusinnaayuaannarumallutigimaaani aama ila takutitsigami pingortitaqqanu ataqqisariaqartigisoq inuuner qanu paarisassaatigisoq una pingortitaq uagoqanu iliuseqarfigisinnaangilarpu ataqqissavarput innarlorutigu uagutsinnu tussagami unarsua assorornisunut tamarmi assorussagami immakan nunatsinni pingortita allangoriartornera takusimangikkaangamikku soorlu nunavissuit USAkkut mianersungillat silaanna illersungilaat ila peqataarusungillat assersuutigalugu kisianni immaqa pingortita iluami takusuugunikku taava immaa illersornissaat illersuaqataanissaq immaqa qaninnerusinnaagaluaq.
And what is our situation in as an Arctic region when the North Pole is melting, the ice is melting? There are a lot of issues that are both giving opportunities, but also can be a little bit scaring, because I know there's a lot of countries who are interested in having their eyes on Greenland. So we are in a vulnerable situation, really, in a lot of ways, but it also gives us opportunities. But I hope we will find a way to deal with it the best way. Yeah.
We look back at our time here with a real appreciation for all of the people that made us feel so welcome in their extraordinary country. A visit generated more questions than answers within us. For now, we feel privileged to have spent so much time in this wonderful place, departing with a genuine hope that Greenland's proud culture lives strong into the future.
I think we have one of the most beautiful countries in the world, with so much space, and a beautiful nature that when you see people suffering all over the world, I mean, we are so lucky and we should be very thankful.
Sen uau pingarts torusuarput. Najoratsigu pingorts taqannimut.
It's the feeling of freedom that the fishermen and hunters want. They don't have a captain, they are their own captain.
Very important for me to keep our language and the culture and the way of living, example, fishing and hunting.
We will be here every summer until we die.
Adukasi